Welcome back to the Living.Fit Show. Another episode of, we're going to say, beverages, bourbon, and BSing. or beverages, bells, and BSing. Sorry, because what's in the glass is always the first question. I think we've set that precedent now. So, Mike, what's in the glass tonight?
Well, Jordan, glad you asked. I'm going to be a complete and total fancy bitch, including with my nice Italian cherries here with the New Orleans classic Vue Carré. So we're rye forward and mm, chef's kiss. It's delightful. What about
So,
you, buddy?
well, before take your sip there, but you gotta. I'm not fancy like you. So, what is in a Vue Carré, sir?
So you're going to have rye, you're going to have vermouth, you're going to have cognac, you're going to have a little bar spoon of Benedictine just for flavor, and you're going to have some bitters. Garnish that off with either a big old classic a piece of orange peel, or in my case, a couple of Amarena cherries on the stick, because, again, fancy.
All right. And sweet vermouth or dry vermouth? You didn't specify.
I usually like to go with dry, although I have seen them with sweet.
All right. Nice. The Vue Carré. I am actually you're doing a fancy. I'm going the other way. I'm going straight up Vikinger. I have my helm of ale horn, and I am drinking a lovely pistachio cream ale from Indeed Brewing, another local brew here in the Twin Cities. And this is actually probably one of my it's honestly one of my favorite beers, period, but it is definitely my favorite locally available beer. It tastes like pistachio gelato in beer form. It is amazing. I love it. I love it. So
So I'm trying to get Nikolai to actually make me a pro kettlebell with a handle on it, so that you have to earn your drinks.
let me know how that goes. I don't know if that one's gonna be that one's gonna be in spec anytime soon, but
I think we start with 12 kilos, man. If you want to go ahead and curl like a man.
I like that. I like that a lot. Maybe start with a 4 kilo one that can hold like several kilos worth of alcohol. Then you're really gonna get the people that are really into fitness.
Well, then I'm gonna have to call Mo Duncan, and we're gonna have to say it's for kids.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it's 4 kilos.
Oh, all right.
For all the attorneys out there, I am not espousing childhood alcoholism.
And just so we're clear, Mike and I actually rarely drink. We just make sure that we save our drinks for our times that we are recording podcasts together. So I drink maybe a handful of drinks a week at most these days, but they just happen to always come at the times that I'm hanging out with Mike. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but
because I record from a bar.
You do have a very nice setup going on. I just have my guest bedroom behind me, but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. So on this episode, last time we busted some myths. This episode we decided we're going to go for an even wider spectrum of people we could potentially offend, because we're going after all of the dogmatic BS that we see in fitness in general. And there are countless examples, honestly. Like Dogma is one of the things that drives me crazy. I know it drives you crazy. I actually have one of the core principles of the Twin Cities Kettlebell Club is we're anti-dogmatic. I am very much against dogma. So let's first start with what is your functional definition of dogma, Mike? What is a dogmatic approach to fitness?
Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and paraphrase kind of like some of our Living.Fit kettlebell curriculum. And when I take a look at it, the whole idea is, do you place movement quality or movement standards higher? And so if you're really going into like straight dogma, you're less concerned about those sort of movement quality. You're really just more, because it says this in the book, or because this is the way, there's only one way and it has to be done that way, right? And so I haven't seen a Mandalorian lifting kettlebells recently, so this is the way doesn't mean a whole lot to me. So from the whole dogma thing, is such throw that crap out, man. Just lift.
If you do not do it this way, you are an apostate, and you must go cleanse yourself in the sweat of 7 Pavels, and you can now be redeemed.
14 Russian virgins.
So yeah, I think that's really what the crux of it is, right? It's like that there's only one way to do anything, and we see it there. Like there are rife examples throughout fitness. But so what we decided we were going to do for this episode is we're going to kind of do a call and response here, where we're gonna drill in on some of the ones that really drive us crazy, and we're gonna call out what the dogma is and tell you why it's a bunch of BS. So we'll start with the one that we already called out, which is there's only one way to do the snatch. And we're talking kettlebell snatch specifically here, because interestingly enough, Olympic weightlifters don't say that there's only one way to barbell snatch, but kettlebell people say there's only one way to kettlebell snatch. Why is that BS, Mike?
So just off the top of my head, I can think of at least three or four variations without a whole hell of a lot of effort, right? So everybody knows the standard hinge snatch comes up, chest close in, heavy on the elbow, lots of bending. Basically, it's a straight shot right off of that hinge drive. But when we take a look at snatches, I mean, I can think of like three or four sport variations right off the bat very easily, right? So I got a cross leg drive, I got a squat drive, I got the same leg drag, I got an army snatch. I mean, like just right off the top, every one of them is a legal rep, right? And so when I started thinking about it from the angle of there's only one way to do a snatch, it's like, well, no, there's only one way that you know to do a snatch. And at the end of the day, just simply even the most rudimentary thing of switching from hinges to pendulums on that hip completely opens up an entire different thing. And okay, now I'm apostate. I'm going to have to go like bathe in the sweat of Pavel.
Yeah, yeah. That when you said there's at least three, like I can think of, I mean, there's as many variants of kettlebell sport style snatching as there are kettlebell sport lifters, because in my opinion, no two people's kettlebell sport snatch looks the same, especially when you put it in slow motion. Like this is where like individual variance can is readily apparent, especially when you look at things slowed down. There are fundamentals that always translate, just like there are the analogy I always use is when you look at professional golfers on the PGA Tour, there's countless ways that they get the club head back and countless ways that they do their follow through or the different things. But everything that everybody is trying to do when it comes to golf is they're trying to get square to square at impact so that they can make a good swing, right? There are similar things within a snatch, right? There are certain fundamentals that everyone is doing, but their individual variation requires them to express it in a different way, or for them to find the right expression for their body is different. So, like you mentioned, some people go I call it the diagonal pathway, right, where you're intentionally going to go at like a 30 to 45 degree angle. Denis Vasiliev is almost straight on. You get somebody like even Denisov is going more side to side. He's actually shifting his body weight more side to side. You get
He
like
doesn't actually move when he snatches, right? It's just the belt just magically moves. That guy looks like he's not even moving when he
oh,
snatches,
he's
though.
he's Frankenstein's monster, man. That guy, like the most impressive thing I've ever seen, still to this day in kettlebell sport was in Chicago back in like I want to say it was like 2017 or something. He did 10 minutes on the 32 kg with just his left hand and did over 220 reps. Took a rest and then competed in the next flight. So he did back-to-back flights, one for each hand, both of which with the 32, both of which were over 200 reps. So he
Yeah,
did
and
200.
made MSIC on both.
Yeah, he did over 200 reps at Master Sport International class per hand with a 10-minute rest between them. Like the guy is not human. But yeah, so there are so many different variants on how to snatch. The idea that there's only one way to do it is kind of crazy to me. And even within the same set, you'll see people, especially seasoned lifters, will change between different angles, or they might switch from, like you said, they'll switch to your pendulum style to, as their grip fatigues and they need to shorten the path of the bell, they'll switch to a hinge dominant style that we call survival snatch. Right, like you're like, oh shit, I'm 3.5 minutes into this five, these 5 minutes I need to go on my left hand, and I haven't even gotten close and I need to switch, or the bell's going to go flying, or they just change to it. Oh, okay. Now instead I'm going to let the bell drop straight down, pull it straight up, squat under it, punch in through it, right? Much more akin to what people are used to seeing with a more hard style snatch. And you'll see that even within the same kettlebell sport set. So the idea that there's only one way to snatch is just ridiculous to me, like patently false and ridiculous.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, the one that always makes me laugh is also like you can see on the sports side where it's like, snatch is done in flats. And then you see, like, again, you'd mentioned Dennis. Dennis will come out there in his Adidas lifters, and it's like in his backswing, his feet, he's like all the way rocking back on his heels in his backswing, and that's like, I saw him doing that one time, and one of my hardstyle buddies just about had a coronary. Uh, it's like, oh my God, his feet detached from the floor. It's wrong. It was like, and yet, and yet,
And yet he transferred all of that energy back on the way up. And we'll just
exactly.
go look up the results of the Rogue challenge if you have any doubts about whether or not those reps count. So
Yeah. I remember the hardstyle guys started ganging up on Lorna Kleidman after she basically smoked absolutely everybody in that challenge. You're doing it wrong. You're sling loading. What the hell is that? You're just gonna tear up your shoulder. And she's like, "Yeah, all right, cool."
yeah,
She was unflappable with it. I gave her mad props. It was pretty
I love
awesome.
I love when guys that could not even manage her warm up are telling her what she's doing wrong when she's a world record holder. It's like, okay, I'll take mansplaining bad examples for 500. Alex is yeah, it was fantastic. But yeah, of course, she handled it, like Lorna handles everything with grace and class. So,
Yeah,
it was
she's pretty
awesome.
awesome. One of the funnier ones is I had a guy who was basically saying, "Well, yeah, but I snatched 100 times in 5 minutes," and I laughed, and he goes, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "What'd you do with the other five?"
Well, okay, so that's gonna segue. Good segue. You're a professional, I think. So we're gonna say another one of those. Actually, speaking of it, it's what do you do with the other 5 minutes? Is uh, number another example is that anything less than 10 minutes is not kettlebell sport. And this is when we hear I love Dennis Vasiliev as much as anybody, but Dennis will tell you anything less than 10 minutes is not kettlebell sport. And I will say, I disagree. I disagree strongly.
Well, I mean, by the same token, I mean that goes hand in hand with the if it's less than 24 kilos, it's not kettlebell sport. If the boys are lifting less than 32 kilos, they're not real kettlebell sport guys, right? So I mean, again, it's like it's dogma that's like, well, why? Where did that rule become the thing, and where did it become so inculcated into the people that are so, like almost violently ready to defend it, and I look at it as like, okay, fine. So I mean, it's like how many American male pro class lifters are there that are currently out there? And the answer for that is none. I mean, like damn near none. And it's
Very,
like,
very
well,
few.
yeah. So it's like, if you want to kind of gatekeep and guard your scene, sure, keep on with that dogma. But if you actually want to grow your sport, or you actually want to like get people to see if they like the thing that you are in love with, chill out, bro.
Yeah, lower the barrier of entry, right? Like to me that is like saying you're not playing golf unless you play 18 holes. It's like, why is the specified duration what determines whether or not like, yes, that is the official length of a single round if you are a professional, right? Like,
Exactly.
but it's like, no, I'm still golfing even if I just go to the driving range. Like, I can go chip and putt and I still say, yeah, I'm gonna go golf for a little while. I'm gonna go practice my golf for 2 hours. I'm not playing the sport of golf because I'm not putting in a full 18 hole round. Like, the idea that whether or not something qualifies as kettlebell sport is predicated on whether or not it's 10 minutes or not is kind of asinine to me, because like, what if you're 70 years old and it's your first time picking up a bell on a platform competitively, and you've got people telling you, well, no, unless you finished the time and did the full 10 minutes, like, then it didn't really count. Like,
Yeah.
that's just
I
putting
mean,
artificial barriers of entry in that are just completely unnecessary, I feel like.
well, you kind of mentioned something there also, right? So if you take a look at it, it's like, it's like, well, if you didn't do a full 10 minutes, so that does bring up another thing that's kind of tradition in the sport, right? So if somebody goes in there and they set a rank goal and they make an 8.5, are they a pussy if they just drop it and walk off? Or did they you just stand there in the rack for 10, man?
I honestly like the highest output I had. the 20s in a sanctioned competition. I stopped after 8 minutes because I was like, okay, I need to hit 64 reps to get rank to get I was rank 2 I think at that time. I was like I needed 64 reps to hit rank 2. I hit it at the end of minute 8. It was, 8 minutes times 8 RPMs, and I was like, the next tier that I need, like, I needed to hit like 86 reps or something in order to move up
Some
to rank
huge
1.
jump.
And I was like, I ain't hitting that in the next 2 minutes. Like, there's no way. Like, I was dying. Like, at best, I'm getting another, like, at best, I'm getting another 16 reps. I'm getting 2 more minutes on pace, right? Or maybe I get 10 in the last minute. But I was dying. Like, there was probably no way I was finishing the time, honestly. So I had that exact thought. I was like, I'm at least 14 reps away from my next rank. I just hit the rank that I came in hitting, that I came in to hit. I did one extra rep just to make sure I didn't have any, like, post setting the bells down, no counts that weren't counted or whatever. So I did one extra rep, and I put him down, and I walked off because I was done. Like, but yeah, there is always that trade-off too, like in sport, where it's like pace versus finish the time. And like, I've always thought the idea of just finish the time is kind of silly. Like, I understand the mindset of, like, don't get in the habit of not finishing the race or not finishing the time. Like, I understand that from a coaching perspective, but also, if the objective is as many reps as possible to get to the rank, like, if you're better off going at 10 RPMs and going lasting for 7 minutes to hit 70, or you're going to try and slow it down and go, you're going to try and go 8 RPMs, and you only make it to minute 6, like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, energy system demands are real. So, like, I don't know. It's one of those. There's dogma around things that don't really make sense sometimes. Like, and that, I guess that's kind of one of the defining characteristics of dogma, right? Is it doesn't make logical sense.
So I remember actually a couple of years ago having a conversation with you. You were coaching me on some snatch technique, and you actually yelled at me and said, dude, you don't need to go max effort on every single." And I know you're remembering this now, right?
I do, yes, I
And
do.
and so and you're like, and I want a video from you in the next 24 hours, 5 minutes in what does rank 1 look like. I did it in about 3.5, dropped the bell and walked up to the camera and yelled, "Shepard!" And you were like, "I got nothing." You had nothing. It was
I
great.
mean, there's not much you can say to that, right? Like, you were so committed to your process on it. Like, there's not a lot you could say, but you also had a fair comeback that, to this day, you are the only athlete that can say this that I've worked with. It's like, well, why can't you just slow that down and go a little bit longer? You say, I got shot and my shoulder literally can't just handle that level of stress for that long, but I can go fast. Okay, I don't, like, I can't really argue that one. Like,
Fuck it, rank 1 it is.
all right, say la vie. I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue with that one. Like, haven't ever been shot, so I don't know what that can have on your capability. So, all right. Another one that always makes me laugh, and this is we're gonna venture out of the realm of kettlebell sport, and out of the realm of kettlebell entirely. But this is one from my powerlifting days that always made me kind of laugh, and it's only gotten more exaggerated over the course of social media. And it's sumo deadlifting is cheating,
Totally.
totally cheating. It's
Totally.
cheating,
Totally.
except for the objectively verifiable fact that it's allowed in competition by
And the weight
by
went up.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's literally allowed. So it's honestly one of those. This is another one of those. It's we'll use the fancy word. It's morphology, right? It's about your body. It's about your body type. It's about your lever length. It's about what positions you can achieve well, which positions allow you to express the maximum leverage on the load so that you can actually get it up, hold it there, and then put it down. If you get a green light on the rep, it fucking counted. I don't care what any bro on social media is going to say. The judge said it counted. So,
Well, and on top of it, it's like not just the judge, 3 judges, right? If you're at a comp event, you got left, right, and center, and I got 3 white lights, that's a rep, dude.
yeah, that one doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, and especially since they say it's cheating. Like, fine, you want to say that like it's not as strong. Like it's not as strong of an expression of strength as a traditional deadlift. Okay, cool. But you can't say it's cheating. Like if it's allowed by rule, how can you possibly make the argument that it's cheating? That makes no sense.
So the thing that I would actually wonder about that, right? So you sort of hear that, well, it's easier to go sumo. I was like, well, I'm going to go with maybe, right? So I'm just like, I love powerlifting, right? It's just a ton of fun, but it's like, I'm going to go with the answer is maybe. If you've got a really long femur and you're throwing out into wide ass duck feet, that's not doing much for you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I was just gonna say, like, it works for guys like me because I'm 60% torso. I'm 6 foot nothing, and I have a 30-inch inseam. If I had a proportionate inseam with my torso length, I would be 6'4", but I don't. So I have really short femurs. So doing a sumo deadlift works, right? But it just it doesn't work for people that have really long femurs. It's not a good position.
yeah, I mean, I used to train this guy named Patrick, and it was funny. Him and his wife, I used to train them both. They used to live together. Um, his wife Veronica was about 5 foot, 5'1". I think like Argentinian special forces or some shit, right? I mean, bona fide badass, but complete freaking bomb in a pocket, right? Teeny tiny little woman. Pat's this German guy. He's about 6'2", about 240. I mean, just big, long, lanky guy. And I'd get them both up in the cage. And I'd have them up there in the cage, either doing deadlifts or I'd have them doing back squats. And she'd be pulling the same or more weight than him because she was just very compact and it just worked because her lever lengths were just better. He could not actually get to parallel without the front of his knee just being on fire, just because of the way his ankles were. And when we actually moved him out and a little wider, he started lifting better. The ones I'd say were kind of the weirdest to me, though, is you ever seen like ultra sumo where your toes are all the way out to the plates?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, where you get those guys that are like the feet are all the way out and like their pinky toe is touching the edge of the plate, and your range of motion's about like that. It's like doink doink. I was like, Yeah, all right, I'm going to kind of give you some bullshit on that one. That might be within a limit, But the other thing is functionally, I think most people are probably stronger in a conventional position. They just don't realize it. All you're doing with sumo is shortening the range of motion.
You're shortening the range of motion, but you can also place the demands on different I'll say tension generating muscles within your posterior chain, right? Like you're able to engage, you're able to change the proportion of engagement to muscles that some people are stronger in than in others, right? There's just less there's less requirement from certain muscles than in others when you're in the sumo position versus the conventional position. But ultimately, it's going to come down to which one is better for you. I find it hilarious that people are like, it's cheating when it's
Yeah,
literally not by rule, right? Like even and I would even the ultra sumo guys, I would say, yeah, then the governing body needs to look at that and say, like, is this too short of a range of motion for it to really count? Okay, cool.
yeah.
If they don't, then it's still not
The
cheating because
bar must travel at least X percentage of your body or whatever, right? I mean, but that's not in the rules in any of the federations I've ever seen.
they could look at it, but I think they
Sure.
really think that that's such a fringe case they don't need to solve for it, because how many of those ultra wide guys are anywhere close to breaking world records? I don't honestly know. I'm not as plugged into the powerlifting accomplishments as I used to be, but it's, I don't know. It just, to me, it's just another example of people intentionally or unintentionally buying into dogma because it's divisive, and it's always fun on social media to tell somebody that they're a pansy, or that their weight that is way more than you could ever lift is doesn't count for some reason, because it makes you feel better that you could say, oh, that guy's doing it sumo, so his 800-pound deadlift is
It's
invalid.
somehow less,
It's
right?
invalid compared to my 550 conventional, right? Like, okay, yeah, that's the difference, bro. bro. That's the difference.
I'd be pretty happy with the 550. I'm still sitting in the high fours.
Hey, that's nothing to sneeze at, man. Like I'm gonna be doing a deadlift thing for my my sister-in-law is doing a fundraiser that's a deadlift event, and she just sent it to me, and I was like, well, shit, I kind of have to do this, right? It's a fundraiser, it's lift heavy things. I can't say no, so I got to do it. And I haven't trained deadlift, and I mean, the last time I did deadlift, I literally just went to do a max out deadlift just to see where I was at, and I think I maxed at like 375 or 395, and that was years of not having trained deadlift specifically. So now I guess I gotta crank it up and see if I can
I
get my
must lift the heavy circles. I must lift the heavy
I want to
circles.
I want to see if I want to see how quickly it will take me to get back into the 500s. That's what I want to see. But
Half an hour and 2 cans of 2 cans of rain.
I need some smelling salts, and I need you to come slap me in the face a few times.
Go full Mark Bell on
you're
you.
like you don't even have to reimburse me for the flight. I will pay out of pocket to come slap you in the face.
I will pay to smack you, Jordan.
All right. So another example, and this one I think is like, so there's actually people on both sides of it that are equally dogmatic. You have people that say pull-ups of dead hang pull-ups are the only thing that count, and people that are like, no, kipping pull-ups is the way to go. That is another one to me that is like, it depends.
They're totally different movements. I mean, like let's get right down to it, right? So my kettle club lives in a CrossFit gym. And so I watch guys kip all the time. And, it's like once upon a time in my younger years, I was like, what is that bullshit? And it was partially because I actually had no comprehension of what the hell I was actually looking at. And once I actually understood it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. So if you take a look at it, right, that's part of the gymnastics component of CrossFit. Okay, well, gymnastic movements are going to be a little more momentum and whip based. A toes to bar has momentum. A kipping pull up has momentum. Have you ever seen them do butterfly pull ups?
No. What's a butterfly pull?
Oh, where their shoulders are just literally going like this, and they're just working the kip longer and longer by.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's
I'm
brutal. But
yeah.
that is a true feat of athleticism to watch it happen, and it's pretty freaking incredible. Whereas the dead hang is just also a very, very difficult, really, really powerful piece of strength. Totally different movement.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different exercise. So the holy war between the two is kind of bullshit because it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I agree. That is one of those where like the product of momentum is very different. And we see this mirrors the debate between a hard style swing and a pendulum swing, but at least those two movements I feel like are fundamentally very similar. It's just different approaches, but the kipping pull up, like you said, is almost a completely different movement than the dead hang pull up. And I've done both. Watching me try and kip is hilarious. But watching me try and do a dead hang pull up can be equally hilarious because I'm a solid 275 pounds, and when you try and stop that and pull it from a complete dead hang, it takes a lot of work. But my strength and conditioning coach in college insisted on nothing but dead hang, and it was like, it didn't count unless you came to a full stop. He could do 1,000 and then you could pull up, right? It was like he literally made you stop and wait. It was like I got tired just from the still holding my body weight in the extended position, waiting for him to give me the okay to go up for my next rep. Like that was not fun.
So I'll tell you, I will give credit where credit is due, man. If you want to learn how to be a master of pull-ups, go to a CrossFit box.
Yeah.
I mean, like I credit where credit is due. Those guys, and they've gotten a bad rap over the years because people don't understand things like kipping pull-ups. And I mean, I'll freely admit it. I've bagged on them in the past. And,
Oh, I did
you
too.
know,
Yeah, I totally did.
freely admit I am in a lot of ways just dead wrong down the road on that. Like I will completely own that. But when you actually look at how they progress people into a pull-up now, it's pretty phenomenal the sort of rebirth that CrossFit has had. It's sort of almost centered around pull-ups and muscle ups. where they've gotten to put, it's like, okay, fine. So sitting on a box on a bar, almost more like a row, doing ring rows. And it's not just to stick your feet in rubber bands and slingshot your ass into the ceiling. They are really doing some pretty fantastic kinesiology with these at this point.
I've seen as part of the scaled pull-up progressions for people, rather than putting them on assistance, saying you're doing scap pull-ups. You're just
Hmm.
holding the bar and you're doing 12 scapular retractions,
Hmm.
in a pull-up position where your range of motion is only, is
An
only
inch
a
or
few,
two.
is only a couple of inches, but it
Hmm.
is essential kinesiology function of being able to pull your shoulder blades down and get your shoulders into a packed position, so that you can control that before they progress them to more full range movements. Like the first time I saw that in a CrossFit box, I was like, oh holy shit, they're learning from their early mistakes, and they got that bad rep very early on of
Oh
like
yeah.
people getting hurt from coming in and just getting, slammed into non-scaled workouts. Now I blame some of the members for that. People coming in and being like, "Oh, I'm going to do this." You're like, "No, you should probably scale this." Like we've all had those clients where it's like, "No, you should probably take that down to a 12." And they're like, "No, I'm a man. I'm going to do 16s." You're like, "Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, you probably shouldn't. That's really not okay. I can't take the weights out of your hand. Okay, sure."
Well, and I mean that's the same in a lot of things, though, right? So, just as in CrossFit or in personal training, right? There's good coaches and there's bad coaches, and there's good boxes and bad boxes. There's good clubs, there's bad clubs, and so would I take somebody who was sort of a half-assed coach and take an athlete that just wasn't ready for it and say, okay, fine, welcome to CrossFit, start kipping? No, you're gonna beat that guy to death. I mean, you're gonna rip somebody's shoulders up pretty bad doing that because they don't know how to do it right, and they haven't been progressed into it. You're seeing a lot less of that out. I mean, there's just almost none of it that I see anymore.
Yeah, and I think, COVID, well, for better or worse, like COVID, I think was also a filter that eliminated a lot of the bad boxes didn't survive COVID. Like you can't
Yeah,
bad
unfortunately, we
coach,
lost some pretty good ones too. But
yeah,
yeah,
that is true. That is true. So
yeah.
we'll pour one out to the good coaches that didn't survive COVID. All right, another one. This one this one makes me laugh a little bit because both you and I are not. Well, I'll caveat with just the disclaimer. Neither Mike nor I are really big on kettlebell flows, but there are some people that are super anti kettlebell flows. They're like, flows are worthless. Flows are for pansies, and you're like, really? They're still like, that's still a 16-kilo kettlebell that they're throwing around. Like, some guys that are pretty strong and can throw around 28s, 32s, like some pretty legit weight, will also do kettlebell flows that last minutes and, a lot of different movements. And you're like, they're making shit up as they go, which is kind of cool. But also, like, people confuse it with maybe being a little random. And they're like, this is worth,
It can be.
yeah, it totally can be. And to our point last time, like, if we talked about how randomness is kind of antithetical to progressive overload and accomplishment of very specific goals. But if your goal is to have fun and just enjoy your workout and really just celebrate what your body can do and just move in unpredictable and different ways, maybe to combat boredom, or just because you want, some movement medicine on a given day, like, flows are not useless. Like, they have their place. Like, especially if that's what you enjoy doing. Like, who are you to dog on something that somebody enjoys doing? Like, if even if they build their entire fitness routine around that, you know what? I'm not going to go run ultra marathons, but that doesn't mean that I say ultra marathons are useless. If that's what gets you out of bed and moves your ass every day, like, go do what you do, you boo boo. Like, if that's what makes you happy, do it. Like, I like lifting heavy shit. Some people don't like lifting heavy shit. Like, everybody
Well,
has their thing.
so and that's kind of the point, right? So I am of the mindset that part of my job as a trainer is to encourage people to actually live in a healthier way, to encourage people to just get off your ass. Just do something. Just use the body you've got. And if doing dances with bells gets you through the night, man, cool. Now, where I would say that I see benefit in flows, and I do incorporate some flow into my training, both personally and for my athletes. But where there are some benefits in flow, first thing is it really forces hand insertion discipline and hand and wrist management. Right, you're not going to get a whole lot of that hand insertion discipline if you're not getting your hand loose or out of the bell, right? And so in the traditional sort of a sport thing, you'd have things like swing snatch, right? Come on out, aim for the corner. Come on out, aim for the corner. Awesome. When I do swing snatch, I actually teach them, my athletes to get to the point where they're coming into that high part of the swing. I want to see their hand because I want to focus on the retraction to get the bell path adjusted at this point of the snatch phase, but then get back in on the right hand insertion. And that's something that you can really excel by practicing with flow. Another thing that you can really get out of flow is a little bit of that mental gymnastics. We'll do what I call circle flows or follow flows as a finisher sometimes, right? Just like it's the cool down. Everybody grab the lightest bell on the rack that you feel is the lightest bell for you, right? It's usually 8s and 12s coming off the rack. And we'll look over and say, okay, first move, go. Somebody does it, everybody follows along. It's like, okay, well, you're all stuck in that position until the person next to them figures out what the next move is going to be. And so it has you start thinking about, okay, now I'm in this weird ass angle. How do I get out of this? And you can do that with flow. But if you really think, I mean, I think that the word flow is also what F's people up. If we really get down to it, all flows is just long complexes. It's just
Yeah,
complex, man.
improvisational complexes, right? Like that's the thing is like part of the reason they're called flows is because especially the people that are high level at them, they're playing jazz, but that doesn't mean it's unstructured, right? Like
Exactly.
there's a predictable structure to it. There are patterns that make sense. Like once this bell is overhead, what can I do with it from here? I can bring it back to where it came from. I can do an overhead squat. There are certain things you can do with it, and people that understand their biomechanics and have good proprioception, right? Like you're talking about training your proprioception, understanding how your body position is in space while things are moving in an unpredictable fashion is an incredibly valuable skill. And especially when you're think about unstructured sports like MMA, right? Boxing, any martial sport, right? You train movement patterns in a repeatable way so that you can get skill acquisition, but the real masters are the people that are able to chain together those movements in unpredictable patterns or in ways that their opponents do not anticipate. Anderson Silva was a master at that. One of the reasons he knocked out so many people is he would throw strikes from positions nobody had seen strikes thrown from before. Well, tell me that that's not similar to kettlebell flow, right? Like being able to do things that make anatomical sense to you but might not be predictable for other people is incredibly valuable. And that is a learnable skill. It is a practicable trait. Being able to improvise is something that you do practice, and being able to string together different movements requires a high level of technical competency at all of the underlying components so that you can then improvise those things together. So
Oh,
anybody that
totally.
says flow is useless, I'm gonna push back on that, even though it's not my cup of tea, it's not my jam, but like I will still do them. Like if we were gonna do that, I'd have fun at your class. I think that's a great fun like group fitness kind of finisher, right? Where it
Yeah,
sounds a little bit like a drinking game to me, but more of a fitness,
it
like
kind of is.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is.
a fitness game where rather than taking a drink, you gotta do the thing. You gotta do the 5 burpees or whatever, right? Like I love that.
So to put a bow on the flow, right? If you really want to go ahead and screw up a hard style guy, and this will lead right into I know where you're going, have him go into a Turkish get up from the wrong leg.
Oh man, you can't
Yeah,
do that.
they get
You can't
stuck.
do that.
They
You
get
can't do
stuck.
that, Mike. No, that's not allowed.
But get
That's
ups are all you need, Jordan.
no, not just get ups. You need swings too.
Well, that sounds
Swings.
very sinister of you, Jordan.
It's very simple.
Is it
And
really?
s-
Are we sure?
We're sure. Swings and get ups are all you need is another one. That was our last one. We're gonna end on this one. And I know you guys have heard us dog on simple and sinister a little bit. And we've talked about get-ups are neither worthless nor the best thing ever, but they maybe are a little overhyped. But the idea that swings and get-ups, two movements, that is your entire program. Swings and get-ups. That's all you need. And not that's a short-term program. That's all you ever need. Pick two movements forever, and it's swings and get-ups.
Because by golly, a Belarusian told me so.
He did train Spetsnaz at the age of 13.
Shh. That's secret, comrade. Protect your column.
Yeah, this one I think, we've drained this one a little bit, but like let's get pattern overload and a really stylized complex. I think you said a stylized complex or a stylized feat of strength, all combined into one program, and that's all you need.
That's your whole program.
That's
So
your
I
whole.
actually got pretty viciously assaulted one time on one of the kettlebell Facebook groups that you and I are both pretty active in. When it's almost like a running joke, right? If you say, "Hey, I'm new. What should I do?" I can sit there with a stopwatch and wait for somebody to say "simple and sinister," right?
SNS. They don't even it got shortened to just SNS now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like either that or just go on YouTube, right? And here's like 4 names of dudes on YouTube. And so I think the bigger thing that really comes in play is, okay, first off, if I have 40 minutes to spend or a half an hour to spend, if I go ahead and do basic math, right, I figure it's about 3-4 seconds per rep, typically. If I've got 30 minutes, I can get 6 to 8 exercises in a kind of ACSM standard 3 or 4 by 10 kind of format. And as a rookie lifter or as a beginning lifter, I have mountains of science to show that that is absolutely positively the best possible thing you can do right now. Best middle of the road you can possibly do. Or I could pattern overload the shit out of a highly stylized 64-piece movement and a whole bunch of kettlebell swings to make my hips be on fire. No.
How about no, Mike?
No. I'm just not doing it, man. It's still a waste of my time. And I actually put out there, I said, look, I could choose the gimmick, or I could choose this actual sets and rep structured, actual circuited workout that has mountains of science. And the amount of shit that I took was pretty fantastic. And because it's Dogma, right? Because there's like a guru complex going on with Tsatsouline. If I go out there and I go ahead and no, no, let me go ahead and show you. Like, well, you're wrong here. I was like, okay, well, here's 3 studies off of PubMed you can go read on your own. Well, it doesn't matter. It's on page 16 of Pavel's book. But enter the
I do my own
kettlebells.
research, Mike. I do my own research.
Right, but enter the kettlebell says this, but a shirtless guy in khaki says that. And it's like I don't give a shit about any of those things, to be quite honest, right? If you're a couch potato and you generally don't do anything, anything is better than what you were doing before. But if you're going to tell me that that is the perfect workout because some dude wrote it in a book, I'm going to absolutely throw the big brown bullshit flag in your direction 100% of the time.
Yeah, and I was gonna make a comment about like it's not necessarily the people who designed the initial protocol's fault that other people bastardize it, or that like the cycle gets out of control, the hype cycle gets out of control. Like you can't really, because I don't honestly, I don't know, obviously I don't know for sure, but I don't think Simple and Sinister was ever designed to be like a longitudinal thing that you do over
The
and
end
over
all be all
again.
for the rest
Like,
of your life.
yeah,
Yeah.
like obviously it's beneficial to and this is where it's challenging. Like, oh well, when people start touting it that way, of course it's good for the bottom line when people think that that's the best thing ever. But like, I don't think they ever intended it to be. It was probably just designed to be like, oh, this is just a simple protocol that you can knock out in a short-term period, and then you move on to something else, right? You move on to the next thing, right? But like
Yeah,
that there are people, like I see people on Reddit, I'm on the Reddit kettlebell subthread, and it's like I see people on Reddit that have repeated simple and sinister like 10 times,
hundreds of
and they're
hundreds
like,
of times.
yeah, they're like, I've been doing it for 18 months, and I've worked my way up to a 40 kilogram, and now like, but what do I do now? Like I don't, like I'm not progressing anymore. It's like yeah, no shit, man.
Because you've been doing the same goddamn thing for the last 3 years,
Yeah,
man.
you've been doing two movements for 3 years. You're surprised that you've hit a plateau? I'm sorry, I'll take basic kinesiology for 200. Like, I'm
Dumbass says what? Oh
sorry.
no, man! It's like I get it. I'm impressed with some of the weights that people can put up after doing that. But by the same token, if all you ever did was deadlifts, all you ever need, comrade, is deadlifts and Arnold presses for the rest of your life. Deadlifts and Arnold presses. That's the super. It would sound stupid.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't really actually like. It's a fun thought exercise when people are like, if you could only pick one exercise to do for the rest of your life. I'm like, yeah, but no. But why no, but why would you do that? Like
Yeah, my
that's not
answer to that question is always real simple: walking.
that
But
that's a good one. That's a good one. I'll
yeah,
take it.
walking, and if I want to make that more interesting, I put a bag on my back full of a steel plate, and I call it rucking, which is basically just walking with heavy shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
now you're talking my language. You know what I
yeah.
like to do on my non-kettlebell days. Throw on
Well,
my throw on my ruck and go for a walk.
yeah. So, I have been known to do that. I have ruck mastered a few times locally, and yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. But at the end of the day, if you're going to pick one single exercise that you can do for the rest of your life, this works pretty good.
Bipedal ambulation, I like it. I like it.
Don't how dare you call me that,
Dude,
you pervert.
I I had I had a moment this past week, when I went out rucking, and like so many places in the US right now, well, just on the planet Earth right now, it's god awful hot, right? And I went
Yeah.
out, I had 40 minutes to get a walk in between, my 9 hours of Zoom meetings, and I was like, I got to get out. I got to get away from my desk. I've been in 6 back to back to back Zoom meetings. I need to get away from my fucking machine and just like go see sunlight. And so I threw my pack on and I went outside and I was like, "Oh my god, it is hot." It was like stepping into a hot, wet blanket because it was 92 degrees and it was like 90% humidity. And I was just pouring sweat and I'm walking. I'm like, all right, gotta go. This is my time. I gotta get away from my machine. Just gotta do it. Gotta do it. Embrace the suck, talking to myself. And then like 15 minutes in, I start hearing the thunder. And I'm like, oh, come on. Come on. Give me that rain. Give me that,
This
give
is
me that,
gonna be so good.
give me that sweet, sweet relief. And sure enough, the skies opened up and we're talking like buckets of rain. Like we got an inch of rain in like 40 minutes. And so it was just pouring. I straight up Shawshank Redemption in the middle of the road, just threw my arms up and was like, yes, thank you so much. Cause it went from being 90 degrees and unbearable to I was just drenched. It brought my temperature down and like, yeah, my boots got heavy and everything, but I was able to make my full 30 minutes of walking at, in my zone 2. And it was awesome. It was just one of
Next
those.
time, hold a golf club in the area. You can get from a Shawshank Redemption. You can get your Green Mile on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not trying to do that, but yeah, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was one of those just perfect
Yeah,
moments for me because it helped a lot. I was not enjoying myself until the rain came down, and then I was really enjoying myself. It
I,
was great.
I absolutely love just going for just even a 30-minute little ruck is great times. They don't all have to be the 5 6 hour. Let's go out and have roadside feng shui suddenly doing burpees in the middle of the road just because why not, right? I mean, been there, done that, lots of fun. But by the
But
same
that's not
token,
rucking, Mike. That's not rucking.
uh,
There's only one way to ruck.
yes, with a bag just like this. And you have to lean in just the right angle, right? You have to get the head
Yeah.
going, right? Or it's just you're not really rucking.
If you're not in rhabdo by the end of it, did you even work out, bro?
But did you carry your flag through the whole thing? Because if you didn't carry your flag through the whole thing, then you're not an American. Goddamn communists.
Oh yeah, and with that, that is one more episode. We're gonna see how long Tommy's gonna let us gonna let us keep putting these up there. But that is one more episode of the Living Fit Show with Mike and Jordan. And if you want, in all seriousness, if you want a real approach to being a real coach, who can apply principles to different clients who have different body types, different goals, then I highly recommend that you look into the Living Fit certifications, because we will teach you how to teach people movement patterns, how to move intelligently, and you can adjust the style of training based on their goals, based on the person. That is what we are all about. That's why we're anti-dogmatic, because we believe in applying principles to individuals to help them achieve their goals in the best way possible. And those evolve and change over time. That requires that you can think independently and apply that knowledge. So if you're a trainer,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you're a trainer and you want to learn that type of thing, systems thinking, then reach out to us, because that's what we're all about. I hope you
Yeah.
guys found this episode entertaining and fun, and maybe a little bit educational as well.
Yeah, and just so that we can be cool, make sure to smash that subscribe and like button down below,
Oh
and
yeah.
give Tommy the follows, baby.
Allow us to keep doing this. Get us those sweet social media engagement numbers that actually tells people that this is fun and valuable, and hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it. So until
Yeah,
next time, cheers, my friend. We will see you again soon.
sláinte.